democracy, and you might even say Christianity, has provided us with this kind of noble lie. I mean, the idea that we are all equal. I mean, it's easy enough to say we're all morally equal, or we're all equal in the eyes of God, but of course we're not equal. I mean, there is a massively uneven distribution of talents of all kinds. Whether it's cognitive, sporting skills, whatever. You're good at certain things, and you're not very good at other things. That you see that in all the people you know. We have a massive distribution, a massively skewed distribution of human talent, and in that tension between the reality of the distribution of talent and the kind of modern political claim to equality, you create massive resentment. I mean, this is something that Nietzsche wrote about, and he used the kind of French word ressentiment. And I guess one of my fears is that this is an irresolvable problem. I'm not really answering your question, am I? Because I'm not. This is not.
I mean, I think that the benefit of the question is that it forces people to push themselves to the edge, and I would say your ideas, David, are on the edge, or at least they are to.
I suppose I would like us to examine this tension more honestly in our public conversations. This tension between these. Obviously, it's desirable that we have this massively uneven distribution of talent. I mean, it would be a kind of monstrous society if somehow we all had the same level of talent, or society forced us all. I mean, this is kind of Soviet.
Well, and nature wants us to have this diversity because that way we're more resilient depending on what happens.
Yeah, exactly. And then how do we marry that with our the idea of equality that is becoming more powerful, not less powerful. I think as older ideas of deference and so on fall away. I mean, democracy, in European countries. I mean, it's a bit older in America, but the idea of human equality in practice is a very, very young one, really, and how it accommodates itself to and rubs up against the enormously uneven distribution of human talents, I think is this is one for the ages, really. But it's one that's going to kind of, I think, loom larger. And I think actually to make it more precise, I think we have this crisis, and someone actually has written a book about it. I mean, my Head, Hand, Heart book talks about this. We have a crisis of the overproduction of elites that actually does bear on this more general point about resentment. We are creating but because the proportion of jobs in the kind of higher cognitive professional sphere, I mean, one of the great myths of our society is that, and this is the Daniel Bell point, that there used to be lots of little ladders up. There were lots of little local elites, and you could thrive and be a successful person in lots of different ways. And one of the theses of my book is that we've narrowed the idea of what it is to lead a successful life. I mean, perhaps in Europe a bit more than America, into doing well at school, going to college, and getting a successful professional career. Now the problem is, it's just common sense, just logic. Not everybody can do that. I mean, not only can everybody, but society cannot bear everybody doing that, because we still need people to clean the offices and collect the refuse and do the basic jobs. We've created this ideal, and we've created this single ladder up into this ideal successful life, which is the modern university, as Daniel Bell predicted in his 1972 book. And we're encouraging lots and lots of people to go into at a time when the number of we're not creating those new sort of cognitive professional jobs. Indeed, they're shrinking. And when AI really strikes, they're going to shrink even further. So we have what one might call elite overproduction, and that is creating huge resentment. I mean, indeed, you might even say, things like the Bernie Sanders movement or Jeremy Corbyn in Britain, these kind of, or indeed, and perhaps this qualifies as the kind of very unpopular thing to say, even perhaps aspects of the Black Lives Matter movement. I mean, I'm not saying there isn't racism, there aren't reasons for black people to feel for being pissed off, but I think a lot of it is also to do with something else, which is that people have been encouraged to go to college and get these qualifications on the assumption there will be an ever-growing number of these cognitive professional jobs, and there are not. So we are creating a mass resentment, and for white kids it's Sanders, for black kids it's BLM, and actually they feel they've done what they were asked to do. They got a decent college degree, but they're working some sort of $30,000 a year back office administrative job that's absolute crap, doesn't have any prospects, and they were expecting to be to join this kind of this professional elite.
I agree with that. When we saw the protests in the United States this year, I put up on Twitter and got real strong pushback, but I still think it's true, that a large percentage of the people out there protesting have in the back of their mind that they have $80,000 worth of student loan debt. So burning down the system that encouraged them to spend money and to take out debt on their future earnings for the things that didn't materialize. And then you think about the people that they're piled down with this debt, and then they're doing, like you talked about, the back administrative jobs, the bullshit jobs, the jobs where you really only need about 4 hours worth of work, but that manager needs people to report to them. So they're going to have those people report to work for 36 hours. And that
Parkinson's law. Do you know Parkinson's law? How the work fills out to fill the time allocated to it. There's this brilliant guy called, I think he was called Cyril Parkinson, came up with various kind of laws of how businesses work, writing in the 1950s as the modern corporation was just getting underway in the UK. But
it doesn't do anything good for human psychology to be in a job where you and your boss both know you don't have that much to do, but you're all just participating in this game.
Yeah. No, I mean, that is a real problem. And I think, a lot of the kids, white kids and black kids, have come out of college thinking that they're going to get these fancy jobs, and they're not getting them, and they're resentful. And it takes a sort of racialized form, probably more for the black kids than the white ones, but they're kind of and that's I mean, I think it's partly because so many people that run our society have been through that system 30, 40 years ago, when indeed it was true. You went through the conveyor belt and you came out and you did have a fancy professional job. But and they have, by trying to create a society in the image, they have thought, well, we had this, so everybody else should have it. Well, but it's not going to work. It's not working. It's not working now. It's going to work even less so when AI cuts through a lot of those kind of middle and lower cognitive jobs, those middle and lower kind of head jobs.
Well, I think AI is going to cut up the upper level jobs that are lower cognitive, the attorney jobs, the accounting jobs, the amount of work done in accounting.
But not the top one. Not the top. We'll need sort of top brilliant accountants and brilliant lawyers and brilliant medics.
Yeah, but those are no different than actual high priests. This is one of the conclusions that I'm coming to. Like, they are interpreting the word of the state, which is written in this like very Byzantine, complex way, and so the people at the top are high priests in some way. Thanks for checking out this podcast short. If you like this interview, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button and hit that bell so you always get notified about this podcast. And if you're really interested in conversations like this, you may want to consider joining the Articulate Ventures Network. To find out more, go to network.articulate.ventures.